On today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to take a look at the pedal. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing to the channel, clicking on the notification bell. Your interaction with us helps us interact with great people in the industry. And in this case, we went to Zounds to get in the Warm Audio Mutation Phasor II. And yes, even though it's not a JHS product, we have the box. And I think it's more like a vault because that is a hefty piece of equipment over there. A couple stickers in here. A little bit of swag, but the Beard has the actual star of the show in his hand there.
Yeah, there's some weight there too.
There is.
So what we have is the Mutation Phasor II. It is sizable. It looks very similar to another company that's out there that has done some stuff. They are still making some stuff like this. The Neutron. This is the Neutron Microtron 4. But back in the 70s, they made a phaser that looked very similar to this. And so Warm has done a kind of a reproduction of that phaser. And, you know, I'm a Neutron fan, but I have never experienced anything outside of the envelope filter. So I wanted to see what that kind of sounded like. We also, in the past, did a Warm Audio products. We did the Centavo, which is like a Klon. Not like basically it's a Klon, pedal, yeah, K-style pedal. That was really, really cool. So we were like, hey, let's check this out. Has 3 knobs on it. The first one is rate, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. You turn it up, it gets faster. Depth is how deep the pulse, I guess, of it is. Maybe that's not the best way to say it. And then the feedback is an interesting addition here, and that's
yeah, because this is described as an electro-optical phase shifting pedal with feedback circuit. So I think that's why they emphasize the feedback circuit. The feedback circuit, as you turn it up, it adds electric feedback to the wet phase shifting signal. Increasing the feedback control creates a more intense phase sound with a particular emphasis on the sweeps, especially noticeable when the rate is at a slow setting. So the sweep, as we went through it, the further that feedback is up, the more emphasized the sweep of the phaser is.
And I'll tell you, it really did. You know, when I had it down slow, I wanted to pull the feedback up a little bit. As I sped it up, I wanted to pull the feedback down. And so it really did make sense. I'll go first. My first clip, I played my PRS McCarty into this. Was looking to kind of almost like, I don't want to say funk because it wasn't funk, but like a single note kind of funky thing. I played some chords in the beginning of it and held them out so you could kind of hear what the phaser was doing, and then went into the single note stuff. I'd say the rate was fairly high on this one, but I don't remember where the other 2 knobs are. But that's why we put it up in the video so you can see it. And so we also...
The DLS Echo Tour will be on pretty much every clip, I think, tonight, and every clip will be played through the Tyler JT22.
So here's the first clip.
All right, so for my first clip, I got out the PRS Silver Sky SE because I wanted to play something that I tried to make it pretty big, had the depth up pretty high. I had the feedback down low because I wanted to keep it pretty warm and full. And I played a chord-driven little hook like this.
I'm just gonna hold my McCarty for setting up my next clip, just because I don't want to feel left out with Pat over here cycling through 3 guitars. This clip, pull the rate back. I remember pulling the rate back, pull the frequency up. Mutron, that company would have made that original phaser back in the 70s. There's a band that is pretty well known.
Has been known to use this.
Yeah, use some of those. Trying to play something a little bit in that vein without doing something that would get a copyright hit. So here is that sound.
All right, so for my next clip, I wanted to see how the phaser reacted with drive. So I grabbed out the Lightspeed by Greer Amps, a fantastic overdrive pedal, very popular for a reason, very well done by Nick Greer, who's also been very great to this channel. And I grabbed the Gibson Greenie. It's the USA model. And we've shot several videos on that. And I did avoid being in the middle position because you didn't want to know what an out of phase pickup configuration sounded with a phaser. So I had it in the bridge. And I wanted to play something that was kind of like chord driven and some picking just to see what it sounded like. And here's what I did. So for my last clip, things kind of went to the extremes. On the Echo Tour, I know I turned the volumes and repeat almost all the way up. The delay was kind of fast, but volumes repeat all the way up. Actually brought in a little bit of that bright. What you can't ever see, Right.
There's a little knob. There's a little tiny knob over here called Echo Tone. And so you can brighten those echoes up or you can darken them up. For this, I think I went more towards the bright side. And then on the phaser, man, I just cranked stuff. Like I just turned it way up. And it's a little...
experimental.
It's a little something, but it was fun. It was fun. And we do this solely to have fun.
All right, so for my next clip, I went extreme for me maybe, but I grabbed the Barber Electronics Exacta Fuzz. I'm not a big fuzz guy, but this one is quite nice and not just the color.
What the doctor ordered.
Yes. So because I picked the pedal that David Barber built, I grabbed the DGT SE that we shot a video on, that David Barber helped us swap out these pickups for Porter pickups, because the wiring is pretty complex in this with the push-pulls and the 2 volume knobs. So Dave spent a whole day with us doing that. So this guitar plays, it sounds great, and this is what I did with the Phasor.
Keeping in mind that nor Pat or I have ever played a Dumble,
Right.
have ever played a real Klon,
True story.
have ever played
A 59 Les Paul.
a 59 Les Paul, and have never played an original Mutation Phasor from the 70s.
Right.
What are your final thoughts?
Yeah. My first thought, and this doesn't mean anything other than it's not this, right? And this is my reference to a Phasor. This is my original. I have to show no power supply, no light. This is what, if I played a Phasor, this is what it was. It's not that, which doesn't make it good or bad out of the gate. It's just not that. I thought it was really interesting the way that the depth and the feedback played off of each other. It gave you a lot of colors. Not only there's colors here, it gave you a lot of colors from this palette here. Mm-hmm. You could dial up some stuff that maybe not what you're familiar with or used to if you haven't played something with that style circuit in it. I think, we shot, 6 clips together. Once we kind of figured out that relationship between the depth and the feedback, I think we dialed up some very different sounding phases on each of our own clips and then from each other. So with that said, there's a lot of options in there. And it is built like a tank. It is a solid piece of equipment. And it's another great pedal that we've tried out from Warm Audio.
I like the build quality a lot.
Yes.
I don't know why the world is like, can you make my pedal smaller and smaller and smaller? There's something, I don't mind. Well, I have a huge kind of rotosphere on my pedal board.
Right, so but it has its own sidecar on your pedal board.
Yes. But it's huge, right? So don't mind that. My experience with Phasors is limited. I had a Phase 100 years ago, which is more similar to the 90 than this would be. Recently stumbled upon a Phase sound in a Line 6 M5 pedal. Right. So for guys that like analog stuff, that Line 6 M5 pedal I think sounds really good on the Phase. I'm
sorry, I'm just laughing because it's as big as the Hughes and Kettler,
it's almost
and
big.
You use it for one thing.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry.
But I have the option to use it for other stuff.
Could.
So when I plugged this in, I think my expectations would be coming from very limited what Phase pedal sounds like. My expectations at first were different. I was kind of like, "Oh, that's not what I expected to hear."
Right.
That's, I think, in many occasions can be a danger for a lot of pedals. Like, be careful. Like, you get a new pedal, you plug it in, that's not what I expected, and then you set it over on the shelf and you're like, I'm done. But if you take a moment and you go, okay, well, let's get beyond what I expected and let's start playing with it and listen to what it actually does. Right. There were some really cool sounds in there. Mm-hmm. The interaction of the feedback with the depth I thought was really nice. When we first plugged it in, I had a Strat on and we had the way it was dialed in.
I think we had the feedback up really high because we didn't know what it did.
That was up high. The rate was up high.
And it
kind of sucked everything out of it. Yeah. But once you roll that down, or depending on what you roll down, right? So keep the rate up, turn the feedback down. I found some stuff I really liked. Mm-hmm. So Just a different approach to a phaser than what I'm used to, but very cool. And again, I like the build quality on that. I mean, it feels. It's not going to break.
It'll break your foot if you drop it, but it won't break itself.
It's not a $15 plastic pedal from
Behringer. No.
See, I wasn't even going to say it. No. You'll bleep that out.
That's right.
All right. So anyway, yeah, good stuff from Warm Audio. Again, anything to add in there? Or?
No, I love the opportunity to play it. The Centava was great. Hopefully more to come from them.
When you say love the opportunity to play it, we got to send a shout out to Sounds for sending it over. They've been really nice to the channel. They send us the things that we want to check out,
right.
No question, and they don't even care. It's just cool. So there will be probably an affiliate link down there. We always forget to mention that. But if you're going to check it out through Sounds because they're the ones that hooked us up so we could share it with you. So with that, thanks for subscribing, hitting the notification bell, clicking the like button. Anytime you interact with the channel, that's what helps us make those relationships with people like Sound and maybe even Warm Audio to bring you cool stuff, to share cool stuff with you. We appreciate that. With that,
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.